Political Science, Dr. Mostafa. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much for your time, Doctor. Let me start by asking you, now that Egypt has taken the decision to join the Africa Finance Corporation as the first North African country to do so, could you tell us a bit more about this move for Egypt, sir?
Certainly, this is a very important initiative, actually, and I'm not surprised that Egypt joined this institution. However, because now Egypt is giving a lot of trust and importance to the African continent.
Yes.
And certainly Egypt be a hub, a connection between other countries in Europe, probably the States and the Far East and Africa, in order to encourage other countries also to invest in Africa, which has a lot of potential. So certainly this is a very important initiative which will probably strengthen the cooperation between Egypt and African countries, and also African countries and other countries worldwide.
Absolutely. Now, this cooperation, Doctor, is very important, as you said, as Egypt's membership will help the cooperation as well maximize the impact of investments, in systemic solutions within Egypt and across Africa. How do you elaborate on the importance of these solutions, Doctor?
Certainly, these are very important, and certainly we expect there will be some obstacles, you see, because certain countries are not very much advanced in certain areas. So certainly Egypt will be able to provide technical assistance in order to eliminate any obstacles that might meet the development of these countries, you see, because probably finance is one of the problems that these countries face, but it's not the only problem. They have the problem of bureaucracy, they have the problem of upgrading their human resources and training them to the latest techniques, and also probably the infrastructure, which is not adequate in certain countries. So Egypt has a lot of experience in these domains,
yes,
and certainly will give a lot of help in these countries within this institution.
Indeed. Dr. Mostafa, the corporation has centered its investment in Egypt in the petroleum and petrochemicals sector. Why these specific fields, sir?
Well, actually, because Egypt is very much advanced in these two domains, you see. Especially in the gas projects, you see, we have evidenced a lot of new discoveries in the gas fields, and certainly this is very important in order to, enhance the energy, which is non-polluted energy, you see, by encouraging companies to exploring gas. You see, this is very important.
Absolutely.
In the field of petrochemicals, also Egypt is very much advanced and has a lot of experience in this field, and this is a very promising field. Probably, unfortunately, a lot of African countries don't have the experience. Probably have resources, but not have the experience in order for exploring the chances for gas and probably the technology for petrochemical companies. So Egypt probably will be providing technical assistance in both fields.
Yes, and Dr. Mostafa, now how do you see joining the AFC will also boost regional trade as well as co-investment opportunities in the African continent, sir?
Certainly, this institution will facilitate the trade between African countries and between probably African countries and worldwide, you see,
yes,
because it probably provides solutions to many problems that are facing these countries, these African countries.
And what fields do you see, in the African continent as being most attractive for such sustainable development projects, Dr. Mostafa?
Probably to be in the agricultural domain, you see, because the African countries have a lot of agricultural resources, land which is cultivable. I'll give you an example that Sudan has a lot of land which is ready for agricultural products and could feed the whole Middle East, you see. So by having cooperation between African countries, providing manpower in order to upgrade and use these probably resources, this will be a very important concept.
Doctor, now the organization has plans to make Africa pivotal, in the global race to net zero by reducing global shipping through localized production. How important is this, and what would this mean for Africa, sir?
Well, this is very, very important because probably certain countries do not have the experience and probably find difficulties in this domain. So certainly this is a very, very important aspect that probably should we be concentrating in on the future.
And what challenges do you see, lying ahead for this to be reached, Doctor?
Certainly, certain challenges be the upgrading of probably the inadequacy of human resources. Finding the right people in order to erect these projects would be probably one of the challenges. So the other one probably will be the bureaucracy, probably, and lack of experience in certain areas. You see, number three certainly will be lack of technology. Because specifically in the oil and petrochemical companies, the petrochemical industries, it's very, very important to have technical support in order that these companies could start up.
Absolutely. Doctor, now, intra-African trade ties are very important, especially in times of turmoil or crisis. And now, as the whole world is struggling from the food insecurity crisis that has also hit many, many African nations, how do you see such an agreement assisting in this regard?
This is very important, you see, certainly, because as you just mentioned, now we have worldwide political problems, you see, and also worldwide economic problems, you see, that face the whole world. So certainly cooperation between the African countries, you see, and that have a strategy that they will depend on themselves in order to meet their needs in various areas. See, this will help certainly these countries to overcome any difficulties. And I'd like to give an important fact. You see that when Europe depends on the Russian gas, they are facing a lot of problems now because Russia has cut the gas to Europe, and certainly because Europe usually was dependent very much on the gas coming from Russia. Certainly, probably we should learn from this lesson that we should be self-sufficient and probably have a certain methodology in order to integrate and cooperate between our African countries.
Absolutely. Finally, Dr. Mostafa, if I can ask you, do you see, moving forward, more intra-African trade ties in the upcoming future, and how do you see them reshaping the situation on the African continent, sir?
Certainly, there will be a lot of business between, as I mentioned just now, the world is facing probably economic and political turbulence. Certainly, this is a very good chance for African countries to cooperate, and certainly it will be a win-win situation because these countries, countries will benefit, you see, from this cooperation.
Absolutely. Dr. Mostafa Tamaam, Professor of Economics and Political Science, thank you very, very much, sir, for your time and your insight and for joining us on today's edition of Africa Today. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today. You're in the company of myself, Angie, very much. Thank you very much for watching.